So now, after discussing the jury instructions, we will now discuss the verdict and sentencing. The verdict of the charges against Derek Medina was he was found guilty on all three charges, which consisted of murder and illegal use of a firearm, and it was child neglect. And however, it was second-degree murder, so those are all felony type of crimes. The prosecutor was trying to reach for first degree. However, it did turn out to be a second-degree murder charge, so that was the turn out of that. And then after that, it was a sentencing. The Judge Yvonne, kind of sentenced him to life in prison with a minimum of 25 years served and another 20 years added to the additional charges that were added against him. So for those two charges, as in illegal use of firearm and child neglect, he got 20 years off that. So basically, he was not going to be out of prison, and he was looking at the rest of his life in prison. So that's kind of how his sentencing kind of turned out. Afterwards, he did go on a little rant. If you see the video, it was a clip of him actually going, expressing his feelings over how he felt like his trial was not fair. He called out Barack Obama and future other presidents as well of the United States, informing them, letting them know that, you know, they need to focus on corruption and things of that nature, and that he will be suing the world eventually, letting them know that he did not get a fair trial, because that was his honest opinion and his belief. He did not get a fair trial. So that's how that turned out. So now we got the check mark against the chronological summary. Now we're moving to the critical analysis. Now the critical analysis consisted of the trial, the verdict, and the sentencing, and how those kind of connect to the case itself. Now in the book, it tells us about trial, and it goes to, like, you know, it gives us the steps to a trial. So in the book of page 15, it shows us like all the steps that needs to be taken, which it shows the opening statements, it shows the, you know, things of the closing statements, how the opening statements the prosecutor is always granted first. And then it shows how the, you know, opening statements is then granted to the defense attorney. They have the right to choose and take forth from that as well. So the book kind of shows us a vivid imagination of like how actual, you know, core trial is kind of ran. So that kind of shows us how that kind of goes. So that kind of gives us imagination within the Derek Medina trial, because everything that kind of just went upon in the court, it was displayed in the book of, you know, page 15 when he talked about trial and gave us some steps and stuff like that. Another one on page 15 was the verdict. You know, it tells us how a verdict is true, how a verdict is played out. It goes into detail over the, you know, the jury instructions. It goes how 12 people are consistent in a jury when given a verdict. It talks about the deliberation, all that things of that nature as well. So it just goes into a little bit of depth of how the verdict can be chosen, and you see how that when it translated and resonated into the Derek Medina case, because, you know, there was 12 jurors, and they all came out with a verdict. They gave their verdict, and that was that. So they kind of gave them a vivid imagination of that as well. It kind of just, in the book, it kind of just gives us a little overview of what a verdict is and how it can be resonated into an actual court case. And seeing like the Derek Medina case, it does just that. So that's kind of cool. Now on page 401, it talks about sentencing, you know, and how that relates to the Derek Medina case. Of course, you know, Derek Medina, like I said, was sentenced to, it was life in prison with minimum 25 years with additional 20 years served as well. So it talks about like how, you know, sentencing is basically the result of a judge giving, you know, a criminal or a defendant a particular time that he has to serve, you know, whether that's in prison, jail, anything of that nature. Usually it consists of fines as well, so it talks about that in the book as well. So if a person has fines, if they're granted parole, probation, restitution, cites, all that good stuff, if they're usually granted that, they usually will come along within their sentence. Unfortunately for Derek Medina, he didn't get any of that, just the fact that that was not in his sentence. And like I said before, he did feel like he got an unfair trial. So that was that. And that's kind of the whole glance of the critical analysis. You know, I really hope that you guys liked this video. It was really informative. You guys have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's, and have a blessed day.